Welcome to Intermediate, a podcast for Santam brokers. I am Maya Fisher-French, a personal finance editor at City Press and Maya on Money. And each month, I'll be joined by Andrew Coutts, who is head of intermediated distribution at Santam. We're going to share insights on everything from new products and digital tools to industry regulations and developments relevant to intermediaries. On today's show, we're going to look at why insurance matters and the critical role that you, as brokers, play in supporting clients, particularly during catastrophic events. Welcome, Andrew.
Hello, Maya. Thank you. And thank you also for being part of this journey with us. I think Intermediate is a new initiative for us, but we really believe in intermediaries and we hope it's going to make a big difference for them too.
Let's chat a little bit about the role that intermediaries play and their importance in this insurance ecosystem.
So in this world where there is so much complexity, what it's really drilled home to us, certainly as an insurer, is the value of advice and the importance of advice to consumers out there. And that's where the brokers are best positioned fundamentally in the market to deliver value to consumers. And more as the skills are evolving in our business, that is definitely beginning to happen. And on top of the advice element, what we're finding brokers really good at doing is really knowing their customers. We forget that as much as digital enables communication and broadens reach, it doesn't make that relationship personal. What makes a relationship personal is knowing who you insure with, knowing who you're insured by, and making sure that your risk and your specific circumstances are taken into account. And those things can't be replaced just simply by a digital interaction. The human element is still very valuable. So brokers are still making a big difference.
Well, I must say when it comes to claims, I've personally experienced the benefit of having somebody to call when things go really horribly wrong. And there's been a lot that's gone really horribly wrong this last year. I mean, let's just have a look at some of those major disasters that in 2017. What has Santam learned from all of these CAT events? And how do you feel that brokers were supported so that they in turn could support their clients the way that you've just described?
So yes, certainly there have been a lot of CAT events this year. It started off with the Wineland fires in the beginning of the year, and then we obviously had the Cape storms, and that flowed through into the fires that we experienced as nice in Plettenberg Bay, and then more recently up in the Johannesburg area, we had these very big hail events in the West Rand and tornadoes that we saw ripping through Mpumalanga, and then of course at the same time we were having those floods in KZN. So there's no doubt that we've seen a fundamental shift in weather patterns, and it's going to have an impact. It's had an impact, but we don't think it's going to disappear. We think it's very much there to stay. I think the learnings from this is that if you want to respond to a CAT event, you got to treat it as a real opportunity to show service. This is your opportunity to deliver on the promise of what insurance is all about. And what our brokers have really been holding us to account in terms of deliverance is the speed of settlement, making sure that we're responsive, that we're there quickly, we get businesses back up and running as fast as we can, we get people back into their homes, and we get them back on the road again with their cars.
So Andrew, let's focus specifically on the Knysna fire because it was such a massive event. I mean, it was really like people's lost everything. Within hours, their entire homes, their cars, their contents just disappeared. What did Santam learn out of that? And do you feel that you were able to give the brokers the correct support so that they in turn could support their clients? Sort of, what is the big learning?
I think so, but from a learning perspective, I think those who were insured realized the value of insurance. So often in business these days, we focus a lot on the what, which is the products, the how, which is the value proposition, and we forget a little bit about the why. Those people who were insured got their homes back, they got their cars back, they got their businesses back. And I think that was something to see. Those who at least had recourse was important. But in that space, there was also something very, so we did see large levels of underinsurance. I think that was a real concern that we identified. So although you thought you had insurance, you didn't have the correct levels of insurance. There were issues around interpretations of policy wordings that created some confusion afterwards, particularly, for example, the definition of total loss. Does the total loss include the cost of rebuilding your swimming pool and your perimeter walls and your paving and your front gate, etc., or is it just your house? And where does building rubble removal fit into these whole things and all those kind of bits and pieces? I think there were questions around that. We also had some very big learnings around spread of fire. So I think there were those individual risks that interestingly afterwards almost seemed untouched, yet everything around was burnt. And you go look at why, things like the trees not built right close to the eaves of the roofs and that sort of thing. So where you position your house within the natural surroundings, etc. Some people really aware of those kind of risks, other people not. So there was definitely that coming through. Data quality actually also emerged as one of the issues that we experienced in that space. People having their houses noted as standard construction when in fact they were built of wood. Issues around that, big issues around asbestos and the cost of actually replacing an asbestos home because of all the requirements now around how you dispose of asbestos. So again, that talked to the sum insured issue. That came through a lot as well. But also what came through was the power of local relationships, So the one thing that I really, it stands stark to me is that how many of the brokers who were responding to their client needs, they were in the communities. They often also suffered the losses. It made it a personal experience for many of them. It made it real. The way the community got together in Knysna is almost like it's a triumph for the human spirit in so many ways. It was a really harrowing experience. But the community responded with love and with a sense of we're going to get this thing sorted. And the brokers were a part of that. So they were really able to make a difference. From a Santam perspective, I think our key focus was really to make sure, again, that we responded to the claim as quickly as we could. We have the advantage of scale in our business, so we made sure that we redeployed our assessors to the area quickly. That meant that we had lots of feet on the ground very, very quickly. We had 2 mobile assessment units immediately on site. We opened up a temporary work office. We made sure we contacted our clients and we advanced them advanced settlements, just to make sure that you can get the necessities right. You need a place to sleep. You need a toothbrush. You need people walked out there literally with their clothes in the back. So immediately getting them up and running. So the advance payments was critical. And then making sure that the overall claim was managed as quickly as you could, recognizing what the kind of level of losses were. So that's really where we're trying to make a difference. And obviously our brokers were hugely valuable in managing that whole process for us.
So Andrew, as you were talking about the natural environment and the impact of trees being planted too close to the houses, gas bottles, I believe in the Knysna fire, gas bottles played a really big role. So houses that had gas bottles were more likely to burn down.
It's absolutely true. So, I guess in some ways, I suppose it's obvious. In a fire environment, a gas bottle explodes and completely compounds the damage. But yes, it was a real learning for us as well that came through from the Knysna fires.
I think we've all learned to take our gas bottles with us when we evacuate.
Don't be full of gas.
Yeah, don't be full of gas. But now, beyond managing natural disasters, more broadly, what do you feel Santam's doing better than its competition?
There are a couple of things that we have emphasized in our business that we want to do differently. And the first is definitely paying claims. We've set claims to be our differentiator in the business. It's the promise that we need to deliver on. So paying claims is what we want to differentiate our service value proposition on. Together with that, we've created that strapline out there of insurance good and proper. Now, I think it's important to know that's just not a strapline out there to the market. It's also a call to action for every Santam in the business. It's how we need to go about doing what we do, and that's good and proper. So I think that's important. We've also taken a lot of time and effort to really focus on our data, the quality of our data, and how we use analytics in particular. So in the past, we used to rate our customers based on our book of data. And it's great, the bigger the book you have, obviously the more information you have. But now you rate clients based on all data. So we import road traffic accident data, we import police crime statistics, we geotag every risk address, which means we can map you to a topography line, we map you to the fire department, we rate the fire departments and the ability to respond to you as individual customers. So the richness of data and the ability to make sure that you're carrying your right load in the insurance pool, that you're getting the right rate for what your risk is, I think is something that we worked very hard on. And that technology investment, not only about in the data and the rating, it's also very much about customer relationship management, the way that we manage our customers and our brokers, through our service centers and our contact centers is again an evolving science in many ways, but measuring all the handover points within a bigger business has become something we've invested heavily in. And I guess beyond just technology, it's also our engagement framework. We've decided to keep face-to-face relationships very much part of our business model. So we're in 51 locations physically across South Africa. We don't think any other insurer nearly matches that footprint, because that's a commitment to being close to our brokers who by default are close to their clients. And that relationship, that personal interaction is foundational to what we believe the success is an intermediate model. So we want to reinforce that with that face-to-face network. And then lastly, I think we also begin to really realize the importance of corporate citizenship. If we want to be a successful company, if we want to work with successful intermediaries, our country has to be successful. We're a part of the process. We need to be a part of the solution. We need to engage. So I think this whole concept of corporate citizenry is making us look at risks and the role we play. And again, I suppose focusing on the why is far more relevant in our discussions and our engagement framework. So hopefully those things will differentiate us going forward.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Today has been very, very helpful. We hope that you, the listener, took something away from today's episode. And remember, Intermediate is not meant to be a one-way medium. If there's anything you disagree with what Andrew said, please let us know. We also want to share your thoughts, questions, and story ideas through Santam Brokers at santam.co.za. For your convenience, you can listen to the show either on your phone or computer using the podcast player on the Santam Broker portal, or subscribe via the podcast app available through iTunes. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to presenting the next episode of Intermediate in around mid-December. Goodbye from me, Maya Fisher-French, and on behalf of Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Maya, very much. And please give us your feedback. It's all about hearing and responding to your questions. Thank you.